Yeah, so I work at Foursquare, helping to build Foursquare Studio. Also, I created Flow.gl. This is like a layer for visualizing origin destination data, movement around cities, mobility. And I built Flow City, which is like based on Deck.gl for visualizing this, where you can just upload some data sets and explore them. But I'm not going to talk about neither of these today. So yeah, today I'll be talking about collaborative apps, just like some small side project I started because of my own interest in this topic. Yeah, and it's a pretty broad topic. You can go very deep. There are many things related to that. I will be just touching on some of them, but don't expect like a deep exploration. It's really very broad. Yeah, so why collaborative? Why is it interesting? Like to me, there is something magical about collaborative tools. That's why I'm attracted. But like nowadays, people work in teams, right? And especially since COVID, teams are extremely distributed. There are already quite some tools which support collaborative work, so people have some expectations already, like modern tools should support, right? And collaboration is one of them. Obviously, it improves communication if people can collaborate and simplifies greatly the version management. Some people still send Excel sheets over mail, like with a version final 22 or something. It's much easier if you have like a tool which allows to work on the same thing collaboratively. Who knows about this demo? Mother of all demos, like given almost 50 years ago by Doug, and he was kind of showing some technology which we nowadays use, and like I think mouse was first shown there, or yeah, and the collaborative real-time text editor was one of the things he was showing there. It's a bit of a shame that in 50 years we are not that far that we like most of our tools are supporting collaborative work. It's one of the reasons it's because it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to solve, but it's getting better now. There are tools supporting that, and I will be speaking about some of them. Who has used Writely? Have you heard about this? Okay, this is actually a company which was acquired by this one. Yeah, so Writely already has some collaborative features, and obviously Google acquired it and built it up into a whole suite, which I cannot live without nowadays. So, and this one you know probably, right? And that's a game changer for the design work which came recently, and they went really great lengths to make collaboration work really smoothly. Like there are blog posts where they discuss what they did, for instance, to scale up Postgres, and it's pretty crazy. But they have millions spent on it, and it's a difficult feat. Yeah, there are other companies obviously which support some collaboration, and in the mapping world, you've heard about Felt, I'm sure, which came out recently, and it's pretty amazing. It works really nicely. It allows people to do things collaboratively on the map, and yeah, I'll try to learn about the technologies they use. And, like for instance, for the data syncing, they use a Phoenix framework, which I'll be speaking about later. For the rendering, they don't use Deck.gl. They use an interesting approach. They actually split their data, like what you can upload as files. Like they offer like upload anything. So you can upload like any kind of. They support lots of formats, like geospatial formats. But when you upload something, they will basically run it through TP-Canoe, tile it, and save on their servers, and then use MapLibre. It's MapLibre, it's not Mapbox, to render the tiles as basically layers, MapLibre layers. But for what you are drawing, they just basically use a custom canvas implementation for drawing. Like they assume that people are not going to draw like thousands of objects, and canvas is good enough for a few hundreds or 1,000. And they can you can convert back and forth from a geometry which you uploaded as part of a data set into a geometry which you can modify and like that. Yeah, they recently introduced paid plans. So actually, anything you upload, like in order to be able to upload, you need to pay. I uploaded this data before they did that, and now I see that. So yeah, there's a paywall. But interestingly, like collaborative drawing is not part of their paid offering. So yeah, it's like something basic they offer. I'm not sure like what should I take from that? Should we take from it? Is like cheap enough so that they don't have to charge for that if they can offer it to anyone, or is the reason maybe that collaboration should be like part of the basic offering, and if you limit it, everybody, it should be very easy to join a team, right, and try to do something clever. Not sure, but anyways, who has heard about Placemark? Okay, bunch of people. So this was still is, but kind of was at the same time, project by Tom McWright, who was mentioned yesterday, I think, in one of the talks, right? He's like a very bright engineer who was one of the people at Mapbox who developed MVT tiles, right, specification, I think. And yeah, he actually built this product on his own. He tried to make it a commercial success, but it didn't quite work out. So this is basically a collaborative GeoJSON editor, right? Yeah, so he had some customers, but like for him, the costs were higher than what he could earn, and he didn't want to go to any VCs, just wanted to do everything by himself. But at some point, he decided like, okay, it's not paying off. The costs are higher than what I get, so I just open source it and move on. That's what he did. So this project is now open source. Only like the version, if you go to this GitHub page of the project, the main thread, the main branch contains the single user version. If you want to look at the code behind the collaborative version, you need to go to SaaS branch. And yeah, I looked a bit at the code. So what he's using for data sync, for the data sync, yeah, like there's this abstraction transact. So if you want to create a new feature, like you need to call it, start a transaction and commit it like to some kind of data source, data store. And he was using actually a third-party tool, Replicache, which is specifically made for building real-time collaborative apps. And so what it does, it's like you basically have a cache on the client. A bunch of the data is downloaded on the client when you like first open your project. Then Replicache, you basically interact in your client app with the cache, and the cache will take care of synchronizing the data with the like server, store, and other clients who might be connected at the same time. Yeah, and if there are conflicts, Replicache will take care of resolving the conflicts. Only so yeah, Replicache is pretty solid thing. Only they announced that they are moving on, developing another product and called ZeroSync. So Replicache is now open source, but it will probably not be further developed. ZeroSync looks really cool, really promising. So it uses basically syncs data in a SQL database, and it uses a SQL database on the client, and it will basically transparently sync the data between the server and the database in the client, and you can use SQL queries on the client directly, and it's a bit like React query. You have this use query hook. If you use React, you can basically run a query, and it will figure out like which part of data is on the client already, is cached, which needs to be fetched. It will be like a hybrid query, and the query will be reactive, meaning that if something changes on the server, if another client does something that mutates the data on the server, your all the other clients get the updates automatically and don't need to do anything. Looks pretty amazing. The only thing, it's not released yet, so we cannot use it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but like overall, there is this like local first movement. Local first meaning that like you want to have you want to develop apps which have some data on the client first, and then like some framework does the syncing. Basically, you own the data, right? You can even work offline and only have a server to sync with other clients. And they on this website they basically list all the different frameworks or products which allow people to build such applications. And it's a zoo. Like it's a very quickly developing field, and it's just difficult to choose one particular product or tool. And I would argue it's probably too early to adopt, especially a proprietary solution, because they change so quickly. They disappear like replicache, and it's not a single one which disappears. Like there's another prominent one, promising and prominent electric SQL. They use Postgres, WebAssembly Postgres, which is embedded in the browser, and do the syncing from a real Postgres to the one in the browser. But they also like left behind the version 1, and now they are developing version 2, which is not quite ready yet. So yeah.
Is PouchDB still a thing?
Say again?
Is PouchDB still?
It's on the list? Yeah, it's on somewhere on the list, I think. One of those, yeah. Firebase is also one which was like could be used for real-time collaboration, but Firebase is very proprietary. So there's Supabase, which is kind of open source kind of version of Firebase. Yeah, so there are many. Yeah, but like I just wanted to build something with open source stuff and just experiment. I considered like what does it take to build a real-time JSON editor? I get to choose open source tools. So there is and use Deck.gl, obviously. There is a Deck.gl community editable layers, right? Former Nebula.gl, which is basically a GeoJSON editor layer you can use. It's solid. There are some rough edges, but yeah, you can use it. And to sync edits, I used Phoenix framework, same as Feld. And to resolve conflicts, I use this open source library, CRDT. I'll speak about this in a moment, which is very established and often used. YJS. Yeah. So this is how the editable layers looks like. There are like different drawing modes, and you can basically interact with the map and draw something. You get GeoJSON features. Phoenix framework. So this is something popular, which is used for very interactive. For instance, Discord is built on that. You've heard about that. WhatsApp is using Elixir and the same virtual machine. Like Phoenix framework is built on Elixir, which is kind of modern version of Erlang. More readable. Erlang has a bit of a weird syntax. He was actually working at Ericsson, right? Years ago when was a thing, but basically, this virtual machine which Ericsson built was made for very highly concurrent applications to support like telecommunication stuff with lots of concurrent clients. And it's still a thing. So this virtual machine is pretty solid. It's called Beam, yeah, this virtual machine. High concurrency, fault tolerance, scalability. So it can handle like millions of clients on a single server at the same time. Scales pretty nicely. And Elixir, this language, I didn't know anything about it before starting this project, but it's pretty clean. I have zero problems with it. Nice to read. And yeah. So what Phoenix offers is this so-called PubSub framework, right? So we can have multiple clients with their WebSocket channels. So the server is connected to every client and sends updates, like synchronizes updates between the clients. So if I had state A on the first client, then it would be to the server, saved in the database, and broadcasted to other clients. Or if there are multiple server instances, they can sync as well. Go ahead.
Have you explored like peer-to-peer solutions? I've seen that ecosystem there. They now have this peer runtime.
Yeah, that's like WebRTC, right? Yeah. Allows to do this syncing peer-to-peer. I have not, but it's also a thing, yeah, which could be interesting. Basically, you don't need a server.
With CRTTs.
One problem is that, like, okay, you do collaboration. If both clients are working on a project at the same time, that works, right? They can sync. But if one disconnects,
I mean,
if one does some work, pushes it, or like makes some changes and then disconnects, and then another client comes.
This append-only log, no?
Yeah, you need to store it somewhere, right? To sync. You still need some kind of server to sync it. If
you read from the other peer when it's connected.
Yeah, only when they are connected. But if they are not,
eventually you might need to have a always connected peer.
Yeah, it's kind of a server.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a WebRTC is very prominent in this space. Yeah. As I said, there are many things to explore here, so I'm just like floating on the surface. Yeah, conflict resolution is the third important thing. Like to implement this, it's basically, yeah, if clients work on the same thing at the same time, it might be conflicts, right? You don't want to have something like this. Show them, okay, now we have a conflict. What should I do? The user often has no idea, especially if it's some binary data, right? So how do you resolve that? Prevention is an important thing to do. Like if you have good representation of user presence and awareness of what other people are doing on the project, like in Feld, if a user is editing something, the other user, this is another client, right? We have this box and the name of the other user. It's clear to the other users what other users are working on at this time. So it can help to prevent conflicts, but still it's not going to work always. So there is such thing as you can implement a consistency model. Eventual consistency means that the states are not always consistent real time, but there is like a set of rules of how concurrent operations would be merged, right? Which guarantees what, independently of the order in which the messages arrive, the end state will be the same on all the clients. So this is what CRDT is about, conflict-free replicated data types. It's basically smart data structure with a set of rules which helps to resolve this conflict. Yeah. The data structure to store state locally on different peers. This state can be updated locally and instantly without checking the other first. Peers send updates to other peers to merge state, and updates can be applied in any order with the same end result, right? There are two prominent implementations, AutoMerge and YJS. And I picked YJS because I've just found nice examples. and read that was pretty solid. So yeah, for this internal RDT model can be shared data types which can be manipulated concurrently. Basically, there is a map and an array where you can add things, and in this map and an array, conflicts will be magically resolved. Fire events, you can subscribe like to changes, right? You have data structure, you just observe the changes and will be notified. And merge. So the code looks pretty simple. Like we create a document, wide document, right? We can add a map in this case. For instance, we can set a value for a certain key, and then we have another copy of this document remote. It could be on another computer or the server. We set another value, and then we do like merge. We get the result which has both keys in this case. Yeah, so the problem is that like in Elixir, so I'm using Phoenix framework, which runs in Elixir, and there's no Elixir port for YJS, but there is a Rust port. And Elixir, like the Beam virtual machine, has something called native implemented functions, and there is like this tool called Rustler, which makes it very easy to wrap Rust functions into Elixir wrapper and use from Elixir. So that's what the code looks. So I basically have this single Rust file in the project. I have like these annotations that it should be exposed to Elixir, and then basically use it. Yeah. I didn't know any Rust and any Elixir before starting the project, but with a little help from my imaginary friend ChatGPT, you can get pretty far. So yeah, so this is the code is open source, by the way. Demo. So yeah, mostly it's like half of it is Elixir, but much of it is generated, like when you create a new project. Yeah, then the blue one is TypeScript. That's the bulk of it. Yeah, a bit of review for the architecture. So we have the server, which has this Rust application for YJS, which keeps the document, right? I can also, I haven't implemented it yet, but save it in S3, for instance. The channels, WebSocket channels, which connect to the clients. We have the YJS document on the client, right? We have the editable layer, like Deck.gl. When we edit something, we will change YJS features, GeoJSON features in the YJS doc. Then it will be synced with the App Store. In the app, I use Zustand for like Redux, but much less boilerplate. Yeah, basically you can pass the YJS doc directly to Deck.gl because like data structure is different. It doesn't that we need to convert it to JSON. And there is also syncing with IndexedDB, which allows like you can basically refresh the tab in the browser and you'll still have the data, which like what we have drawn. Or later it can like enable offline work because you basically store this, can persist this data in the browser. Yeah, and it all syncs. Like main representations of the data, but thanks to YJS, it magically syncs and state is eventually the same. Okay, a demo. So I have drawn something. Let me clear. So yeah, so this is the in London. Nice. Very basic map. Using map library and Carto free base map. Thanks to Carto for that. So yeah, we have some basic editing tools. It's a bit rough at the moment. I just started this a few weeks ago. Yeah, but we can basically draw something like a polygon, right? I can change the color. I can use a different method to draw a polygon, like by point by point. Yeah, and then like I have some features here. I can share this project now. It's small. You can try to scan. I'll use my phone. Only tried it with 3 clients. Let's see if you can catch it. So yeah, somebody is drawing already. So you see, wait, how can I zoom out? Yeah, you see the presence, right? Like we have quite a few. Wow, people are drawing. You see, like there is also, you see that like where the mouse is. Well, on the phone, it's not really the mouse, right? The last, nice. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well,
Almost couldn't be it.
Mouse positions are handled by the server, or
yeah, there's like presence synchronization. Yeah, mouse position can be sent from every user to server, and the server will broadcast it to all the users. It's like the awareness presence. Yeah, you can also modify the. Yeah, you can rotate them. You can do some things. It's still very basic. Sorry.
Awesome. It looks like it's quite intuitive.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping with the demo, by the way. Demo, you see.
Are you using JS documents to sync the mouse position?
No, for that, they need that.
This
Because the mouse position, like every user has only one, right? So, and other users cannot affect this user's mouse position. You don't need to. There are no conflicts. Right?
What do you use for that?
Just use a channel of Phoenix Framework channel. Send this to the server, and server will broadcast. That's it. Okay. I think we should go ahead. Do you want to speak?
Give us an hour.
So yeah, that's something I built it like in few weeks, evenings, nights, whatever. I don't really have a big plan. Just an experiment, but I think it could be useful. So something I've been inspired by is TL Draw. There's also Xcali Draw, which is very similar. So it's basically a drawing tool, which you can use like in single user mode, and it's available as a React component, which you can embed in your apps. And also it has a server for data syncing, which yeah, I think it would be nice if we had something like this in for Deck.gl. Ideally, that like. By the way, what do you think, guys? Is there a need for such a tool?
Great.
maybe for annotating, no?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. It should be possible to add it to like throw it onto an arbitrary Deck.gl at least map, right? As an overlay, right?
Yeah, let's see. With the kind of money that they are spending right now, shows it as one of the big things they wanted to do, is because they have user research that suggests that it's useful as well. So not sure if just asking them.
Well, there is already failed, right? So
No, but I mean, one of the big parts is collaboration. I'm not saying you need to do Feld 2 or Feld Libre, but
why not?
but the part of our collaborating and drawing could be based on the same user needs they have for collaboration.
Same user needs, you mean? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not Feld. I don't have the many resources.
What's amazing about this to me is like so much of the data and maps that we make are they're based on data, right? And that often leaves you with a very rigid map. It's something that you have no nudgeability about, and often that's what you want, right? You want to actually be representing the data you were given accurately. But there are also many times where you want to add a human touch to the representation of your data in some way. And I think like this is exactly showing like what people are already drawing on the map. It's all annotations, right? But if you were to direct that towards, you know, a variety of different use cases, I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but it's about adding a human touch to your data creations that I think this whole kind of interactivity, you know, seems to unlock.
Also, it would be quite cool to not just draw on the map, but combine it with some kind of visualization. So you can highlight some data, you can crop some data.
Yeah, like it's like what
Yeah.
Javier mentioned, right?
So
Notation tool, right?
some of the features I'm needing to work on right now are, yeah, like user annotations to then, apply, like redo some statistical analysis or something and stuff like this. So this is stuff that I'm needing to do a lot of work on at the moment. And I've also somewhat orthogonally been thinking about kind of making things more collaborative as well. I played around, I just made like an art installation thing that was, you know, collaboratively paint on that phone. I hadn't particularly thought about how the annotations like this stuff related to that, but yeah, at some point I might be able to do that.
And imagine being able to, you know, draw and then do an aggregation on the area that you've drawn, and then have that come up as like a widget on the screen that has, you know, some chart on it, and then, you know, my neighbor could do the same thing, and we could both be kind of creating these derivative works off of the drawing and selections that we're making. I mean,
Should we invest here? No, look at
That's
this
absolutely
tree.
the-
Way
yeah.
more population density.
sure, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of in real time being able to do explorative data analysis together. And when two people are kind of exploring the same data set and you come up with different insights, you know, now you're able to surface those and have more, you know, much less frictiony conversations about an insightful thing you're interested in.
We have a use case on our app that we needed to add annotations for researchers to kind of spot quirks in the data or something like that and be able to share with others.
Should we connect?
Yeah, right now that's offline in a way. Like you have to save the workspace and send it to someone, and you do a refresh. You don't see new annotations. So it will be really nice to see them.
Version final 22.
Maybe your virtual friend, or how did you call it?
Imaginary.
One of the people who are like, I don't know, agents who interact with the map. You know, like maybe that could be a way of talking via a map if you do annotations or whatever. Well, you could see the same.
Collaborating with an LLM.
Replace a human with an AI, and whatever you do, editing.
Okay, some really cool ideas. Yeah, thanks for the input, and yeah, reach out to me if you have
I'll
more.
repackage it up. We have a Deck.gl community repo. So maybe we could add a Deck.gl community / collaborative layers.
We talk. If we talk, we.
All the server bits that seem to make it quite complicated.
Sorry, say again.
All the server kind of side of it makes it quite complicated for it to have like I wouldn't imagine to use the same stack that you're using, but if I were to roll out a feature like this, right?
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue. But like as I said, the model which TL Draw is using, they offer this component which is single user, not collaborative. But this the same component can connect to the server. They also kind of
Make it a little bit pluggable.
yeah.
But then
Provide a
in
reference.
my case, I'd also be wanting to kind of have other states, so I'd want to, anyway.
You probably, this would be really good, is long tail. You need probably to have, you know, undo and redo.
It does have like what I wanted to show this.
Yeah.
The version
It does have undo and redo, and it's really cool because like in collaborative, undo and redo has to be smart. Only undoing changes you make and not the others. And YJS is accounting for it.
I was using the undo and redo a little bit when we were all playing with it just a moment ago, and it seemed to undo like a big chunk of changes that weren't.
Okay, there's a bug there. I know. Well, it basically undoes the sync data which came as a sync, and I need to basically prevent that. It's, I know about this.
Have you found any limitations with CRDTs? of performance or?
Not yet, but it
so-
might be. Obviously, it's a large data. It's like it has some penalty because it needs to like store history of changes, right, with timestamps and all this stuff. And for huge data sets, it probably wouldn't be super efficient. But as also like this approach which Felt is using by separating the data into like something which is more solid and is not edited at the moment, right? And they call this like an element. You can convert the data point into an element, and then you can edit the element. Maybe something like this. A reasonable solution, yeah. But yeah, go ahead.
I think for Placemark, I think something similar with Postgres. It's like it's designed for big data to be shared. I can look it up, but there was some kind of thing with Postgres that allows you to parallelize it.
Okay.
I know there are solutions for dealing with large amounts of data, even if it's. Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I haven't tested it with large data sets yet. So yeah, but there are some limitations, I expect. Yeah, here I just wanted to say, yeah, like if we look at Felt, it's not just collaborative JSON editing tool. It's more than that. It's visualization, as you said, and sharing telling stories. Like just a JSON editor tool is not that interesting. Yeah, but as we just discussed, Javier said something like this. If it was a pluggable annotation layer for generic maps, which we can build, Deck.gl, put it as an overlay, and the annotation maybe connect to the server to sync, could be something. Or maybe we could like use it as a framework to build specialized editors. I don't know. We allow, like for instance, for urban planning, we have some predefined structures, blocks, which we can place, which don't need to be drawn every time from scratch, but made for this particular use case. Could be interesting. Yeah, like right now I just published it as a free tool, and the costs are very low right now, and I want to keep them low so that it can run as a free tool. But that, like, there are some bottlenecks, especially in the memory used, right? So if we need to store the document, copy of the document on the server, we have many of them, many different rooms, right? We will run out. It scales both horizontally and vertically with Phoenix framework, but yeah, you have to pay more for servers from the instances. Yeah, so improve editing, text feature. That's why I was asking about text. I want to add text annotation, file upload and export. Comments, what I want to add. I could show some code briefly, but I don't know how. With time?
For time.
Okay, but you can go ahead and check the repo. The code is pretty readable. But yeah, thank you. Reach out to me if you